The million qubit regime, it's been my personal conviction for more than 20 years that we will need to leverage the semiconductor industry and the 50 years and $1 trillion that went into that industry in order to deliver that technology, and that's what we are doing. And that's why I believe that we're in a regime where well within this decade we're going to be deploying this technology.
Okay, so we already have versions of this, but not computing, in the real world that Jack is developing in medicine and things like that. But the computing version, which is the one that everyone gets excited or terrified by, is within the decade. So that's quite close by, World Economic Forum standards. Can I, before I turn to Frika, very quickly want to ask a question that most people ask up front in relation to quantum computing, and is often the only reason people have heard about this, is that if we get these quantum computers within the next decade, will that smash apart the entire current system of encryption in the current world? That's what everyone really wants to know right now. And will the whole promise behind Bitcoin and DeFi collapse as a result? You each have a minute to answer that, and I want to ask Frika.
So I'll give you bad news and good news. The bad news is, yes, quantum computers break the RSA and ECC encryption standards that we all use today. So, RSA has had a good run. 1978 till today, 40 plus years, pretty good run for a tech standard. I think we'd all agree. But we now have to transition from RSA, the current standard, to the post-RSA quantum safe. And here's the good news, Gillian, I want to share, which is that the world bodies, the countries, about 40 countries, got together about 6 years ago, recognizing this issue, came together in an open process with academics, industry partners, and governments, and said, we've got to find a set of standards that are quantum safe. And this past January, just a few months ago, they completed the core of their work. That's why this panel today is so timely, because just in 3 weeks from today, we'll get the first 2 of those standards coming out of these government bodies. These are the quantum safe protocols that are what you can use for e-commerce, for encryption, for re-encrypting all of the patient data that we have in hospitals, for re-encrypting all the intellectual property that we have, and also for starting to use in secure communication as well. So bad news is, yes, we have to now discard RSA and all the stuff that we were using before, and particularly because of SNDL, store now, decrypt later. We have to move now, even though the quantum computers are not here yet. We have to move now because the adversaries are exfiltrating our information. Even though it's encrypted, they're storing it on their servers to decrypt it in a few years when they have the computing capability. That's the urgency of why the governments of the world are issuing these standards today.
Well, there's nothing like terror to force collaboration.